evening, afternoon. I don't know. It's kind of that weird time of day. It could be either. I'm gonna do a video of a couple of Mexican style lagers. So I have Pacifico, which is brewed in Mexico, and it is my favorite. I mean, Land Shark is good, but I think that's American brewed as a Mexican lager. But this is my favorite. Then I have Sierra Nevada Sierraveza, which is an easy drinking lager. We'll take a look at this. I think this was in their summer kit, not kit, geez, what is that called? Summer box that has a bunch of different beers in it. Can't think of the word. And then I'm very excited about this Nicaraguan beer called Tonya, I'm assuming. But when my sweetheart was down in Nicaragua, they picked up this beer because we joked that it's actually pronounced Tonya. So we're going to take a look at this beer as well. Okay. So just as a recap, these are Pacifico is not going to tell us how much alcohol is in it. Okay, fine. Cervevezas is 5%, and Tonya is 4.6%. So I have limes that I've already pre-cut, and totes just dropped on my computer. Oops. I have some limes that are pre-cut, and so I'll taste each one without and then add lime to see if the flavor is improved at all. Because I actually prefer drinking these with limes generally. And we're just going to go in the order that I had listed them just because I don't really know that it matters too much. These are all very light lagers. As you can tell, this one is almost crystal clear. Actually, you know, I don't even think I've ever looked at this outside of the bottle, which is kind of weird, but there is like no color here, almost no color. Let's see, I guess like a tiny little bit of color, little baby bit of color there. Not very bubbly, not heady at all. Smells like a lager, you know. Kind of that sweet lager smell. All right, so cheers. Let's have a drink. Really mellow, low flavor, which is nice. This beer, when it's warm, is not very good at all. Or it's very it gets heavy in its flavor in the way that Budweiser feels a little bit heavy in its flavor to me. So I appreciate the kind of crisp lightness of this beer. Clearly, we're not going for beer flavor per se, and so that lightness is really great, and that's probably why it goes great with limes. One of my favorite parts of actually adding a lime is when you stick it in the bottle, and then the bottle has that lime flavor on it. So tasty. All right, so Pacifico with lime. Yeah, immediately better, because just as I go to take a drink from this glass, you can smell lime, which is, always refreshing and tasty, I suppose, at least in my opinion. And then when I add the lime to this beer, it kind of neutralizes the flavor even a little bit more, which was not what I was expecting necessarily. And then you get kind of a limey, lingering sensation afterward. And so I almost want to say that it's better without lime Pacifico. It's like almost no flavor this way. All right, so Pacifico with an unknown amount of alcohol in it. Next, we'll take a look at Sierra. Actually, you know what? I'm going to cut the line. I'm going to do Tonya, just in case, for some reason, Cerveza has more or different flavor. I want to make sure to have tasted these independently. So this was, I think, a beer that's all over the place in Nicaragua, and like on the backs of chairs or advertisements everywhere, kind of like we see Budweiser and Hmm. Gosh. Corona, my goodness. And so, like I said, they saw it and thought, oh my goodness, I have to get that for Tonya. So, this one has a little bit of a sweeter smell, almost honey smell to it. And if I get deep in there, it actually smells, it smells weird. I'm going to say, I would almost even say it has an off flavor aroma to it. I guess I'll know when I smell it. Also, I'm trying to think of when I got this beer. I mean, it's probably more than 6 months at this point. So when was Nicaragua? I don't remember when they went to Nicaragua. I don't remember. So it's possible this isn't very good beer, or it has gone bad. I wish I could place that smell. I'll have to just, let me try one more time. Oh, my hands smell like lime. That's not helpful. Okay. I don't know. Can't place it. Anyway, also not very heady, also very light. This one has a little bit more kind of rapid carbonation to it. Let's have a drink. Can't tell if that's an off flavor. Like, is that a feature or a bug? I don't know. I can't tell if that's an off flavor. It's kind of I'm gonna say it might be an off flavor. I don't want to say it's moldy, but kind of. If I die, thank you, internet. It has been captured. You know, gosh, it took me a second to place that. I had that flavor before, and it reminds me of the weird beers that, gluten-free beers that I've had, where they're like these alternate grains in order to avoid gluten, and they taste weird. So one of them always reminded me of like a urinal cake, and I'm not going to remember what that substance was. I can't remember. I can't remember what it was. Anyway, don't drink it. It's awful. It's just weird. It's almost funky, like a wool blanket, like we would get, like I would expect out of a my goodness, all my words are gone today. Wet blanket beer, saison, that has that kind of like funky kind of farmhouse ale flavor to it. That's a little funky but not awful. This is what that reminds me of. All right, let's try it with lime. Of course, aroma immediately better because lime. That weird funk is covered up, so this beer is definitely better with lime. I don't know. Questionable beer altogether. I can't tell if it's bad or if it's like just oddly flavored. Either way, I don't particularly like it. However, the name is awesome. Like I said, we'll pretend that it's Tonya. Okay, last up is Sierra Nevada Sierraveza. Easy drinking lager, again in at 5%, I believe. 5%? Yeah, 5%. Golden and crisp. Says it has malt flavor, but malty beer drinkers know that that's a fib. Okay. So this one's a little bit more heady, actually surprisingly heady compared to the other two that I've poured. Lots of carbonation here, similar to what we saw in Tonya, although these bubbles are a little bit bigger than that. Looks like this head is going to be persistent through this pour. Also very, very lightly colored. This one Yeah, they're all very lightly colored. Um, Here are the other two in comparison, so also very light. All right, aroma. Not as I'm gonna say not as lagery. Different smell. I can't really. Surprisingly different smell. Lagers have a very distinct smell to me that I don't find very appealing, and it's not present here, which is really interesting. Because clearly this is a lager. I mean, it doesn't necessarily say that it is a lager. No, easy drinking lager. Yeah. So definitely a lager, but it doesn't have that very distinct smell to me, which is interesting. Cheers. Let's have a drink. Interesting. This beer has a little bit more in the mouthfeel. That might be partially because I took a big swig of foam off the top of this drink, but it reminds me a lot of Blue Moon, which I used to call the soap beer because it always tasted like soap to me. And this is very similar. So not at all like a Mexican style lager. So if we're judging it purely on the merit of whether or not it's a good Mexican style lager, the answer is no. Little to no flavor to me. A little bit better mouthfeel, I think, than the other ones. They're a little bit more thin. This is slightly I would call it like a medium light body. And overall, I guess out of these three, this might be my favorite as far as the flavor goes. But like I said, we're here looking at Mexican style adjunct lagers, or Mexican style lagers, adjunct or otherwise. And it's different than the other two. So that's interesting. Let's throw a lime up in this bad boy. It really almost has no flavor. There's a couple of beers. I wish I could remember which ones they were that were billed as a blonde ale that had like no flavor. It reminds me of that. It had like this mouthfeel, but no flavor. That's what this is. All right, with lime. This one is actually really good with lime. It has, it's not competing with that kind of heavy lager flavor, and so it's just this really bright citrus, which is kind of nice. But like I said, it's not a Mexican style lager in the same way that these other ones are. So there you have it, with and without limes. Each of those beers. It would be nice if I could have had a Corona in this lineup, but I don't have. I didn't have one available. So from the beginning, we took a look at Pacifico, which does not have its alcohol content listed on this bottle. One more look? No. With and without lime. Tonya, lager out of Nicaragua, at 4.6%. And then the Sierra Nevada Sierraveza, easy drinking lager at 5%. And so, let's see, I guess you can see these bottles. Look at them this way, which is a little awkward. Pacifico, I think, historically has been my go-to Mexican style lager, and I always put a lime in it, and that's fine. It's interchangeable to me with Corona. It's not much different. And Landshark, which I think is a U.S. beer and also not very widely available in my area, but those three, they're interchangeable, and I don't notice the difference. Adding a lime is preferable to me because I really like the flavor and smell of lime. This Tonya beer was awkward and weird. Like I said, it's a little funky, and it could be an off flavor that I'm picking up in this beer that's making it funky. But mostly it just wasn't very wasn't a very pleasant drink, even when you put lime in it. And then lastly, we took a look at Cervevezas, which which is just like such a different flavor. I wouldn't even consider it a Mexican style lager, even though it says it on this label. It says easy drinking lager. I suppose it's not Mexican style, but we're going to take it from the name and the label that's what they intended. So it's a little bit off. Out of these three, it was my favorite, but if we're going to be judging it purely based on the style, it's not fabulous. This one is great with lime. I highly recommend it. So there you have it. 3 beers to take a look at. If you've had these, please share with me, particularly if you've had Tonya. I want to know if yours tasted weird or if it was mine. Mine, because who knows? Who knows how long it had been out? And like I said, I think it was the low-cost beer in that area, and the name was just great. So share with me if these are beers you've had before. I want to know what your thoughts are, what your, outside of these, what is your favorite style of Mexican-style lagers? Which is your favorite brew? So I would love to hear that as well. Cool. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.